emergency, call the licensed and experienced professionals at Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services. Nick's Plumbing has been Houston's first choice for all your plumbing needs since 1979. Our experts can take your most difficult plumbing issues and fix them fast, fix them right, and usually for less than you'd expect. Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services is the right choice for any plumbing job, from a leaky faucet, whole house repipe, or a complete sewer line replacement. You can count on Nick's Plumbing to do the job right. With over 40 years in business and over 150,000 satisfied customers, Nick's wants to be your plumbing company. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
NPL 38548.
Call Nick's Plumbing today. We're on the way.
AM 700 KSEV, Tomball, Houston, and streaming online at ksevradio.com, the voice of Texas.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Abdul El-Sayed has won Michigan's Democratic nomination for U.S. Senate in a victory for the party's leftist progressive wing in a battleground state. Senator Gary Peters, a Michigan Democrat, was asked his reaction.
Well, I'll certainly congratulate his victory. I talked to him this morning and congratulated him on a victory. We have to win Michigan. It's absolutely essential for us to keep that state blue, my state blue, and so that we can take the majority here in the U.S. Senate. So he's going to work hard, and we're going to now unite the party behind him.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune says Abdul El-Sayed's success in the Michigan Democratic Senate primary is good news for Republicans.
I mean, this is the extreme radical choice that the Democrats made, and now they're going to have to, accept those positions that he has been advocating for in a general election setting, which I think puts us in a pretty good spot.
El-Sayed will face Republican Mike Rogers, a former congressman, in November in a race that will help determine control of the Senate. The Trump administration is turning up the pressure on Mexican cartel bosses. Willie Nelson reports.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche is announcing a major new rewards package targeting leadership of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel.
We're also announcing today with the State Department more than $100 million in rewards for information leading to the arrest of not only the 5 that were just unsealed today, but 3 indicted, previously unsealed cases against additional CJNG leadership.
The move expands existing cases against one of Mexico's most violent and powerful criminal organizations. Willie Nelson, the White House.
A mixed day on Wall Street with the Dow up by 263 points, the Nasdaq dropping 221, the S&P 500 lower by 12. More at Town Hall.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
When I was feeling the stress of too much credit card debt, I looked at 2 different options, debt settlement and debt management. They may sound the same, but guess what? They're not. Debt settlement seemed like a quick fix, but I found out it would destroy my credit, create tax headaches, and hit me with huge fees. They actually told me to stop paying my bills. No way, not me. Then I turned to a debt management plan developed by the team at Trinity. They worked with my creditors, lowered my payments, reduced my interest, saved me thousands, and paid off my debt. And Trinity is a Christian company, which is important to me.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
Scientists are certain that a SpaceX rocket has slammed into the moon as predicted.
While no one observed the actual impact, a telescope in Chile spotted what astronomers have identified as the debris plume resulting from the high-speed crash. The leftover rocket segment plowed into the moon after drifting off course for the past year. SpaceX launched the rocket last year with a pair of lunar landers. The company says a combination of solar activity and gravity accidentally put it on a collision course with the moon. SpaceX is working with NASA to avoid any further lunar littering. John Scott reporting.
The FAA is investigating why a plane was allowed to take off as President Trump's helicopter was approaching Reagan Airport in what appeared to be a violation of safety procedures put in place after last year's mid-air collision there. News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters.
From the KSEV Weather Center, tonight expect clear skies with high humidity and a low of 79. Tomorrow anticipate partly sunny conditions with isolated thunderstorms possible in the afternoon, reaching a high of 95. Tomorrow night will be mainly clear and humid with a low of 78. Looking ahead to Friday, it will be sunny to partly cloudy with a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas in the afternoon and a high of 94. With the KSCB Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
This program is brought to you in part by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals.
Call 281-441-4179.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing, the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today, my friend for nearly 40 years, at 281-441-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Jim Clark, a.k.a. Check-A-Pro Joe here. Houston's best contractors. Houston's smartest homeowners. It all starts with the Check-A-Pro radio show. Now hear my show every Saturday at 7 a.m. right here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
At IDEA Public Schools, students are prepared not just for graduation, but for what comes next. Because when students are challenged and supported, bright futures follow. Bright futures begin at IDEA Public Schools. Learn more at ideapublicschools.org.
Sponsored by IDEA Public Schools.
KSEV 700 AM.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisXradio. ChrisXradio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Chris X.
The entire interlink. Aren't there some gatekeepers out there trying to shut our messaging down? I do believe that is the case. Good afternoon. Welcome to Chris X Radio. I am the aforementioned X-Man. Glad to have you here with us on our Hump Day edition of the program. So that means it's Wednesday, which some people try to call it Hump Day. I don't know. I got the Hump Day song. I can play that. No, I won't torture you with that. Glad to have you here with us as we have assumed control of the airwaves. We will maintain control of these airwaves for the next 2 hours as we bring you that gift beyond price that is almost free, ladies and gentlemen. We bring you the spirit of talk radio. And we got a lot going on. I know it's weird. It's so weird because I remember a time before the Trumpocalypse when sometimes there just wasn't much to talk about. That doesn't happen anymore. Every day, every minute, plus we're in a 24-hour news cycle, but no one dominates the 24-hour news cycle like the great Orange Wanda, the great orange guy, orange man bad, orange man. He's not as orange as he used to be. He's more brown now. I guess they changed up his tanning. Does he spray tan now? Well, I guess he was spray tanning before. But he doesn't look as orange, so I guess they adjusted it. But he's definitely looking older, that's for sure, and he dominates the news. Also, by the way, if you want to join us today, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. Speaking of the president, The Secret Service or his security team seems to be getting better. And I'll tell you what I mean. They arrested a guy as he was scoping out the golf course in California a couple of days before the president was there, instead of waiting till the guy's sitting there trying to pump off a few shots at the president. So they seem to be getting better. Clearly, the Secret Service is better than the DEI hires that the Biden administration provided for Donald Trump. So, as he was running for president, man, it was a bizarre time. You guys remember just a little over, was it 2 years ago? When Donald Trump was running for president and he spoke in this place called Butler, Pennsylvania. And while he was on the stage, there's some dude climbed up to the most strategic vantage point possible. Some like 21-year-old kid with an AR-15 popped off about 8 shots before they shot him and killed him. He murdered Corey Compatore, a family man who was in the audience, wounded a couple of others, shot the president through the ear. And then, of course, now we were told that the Secret Service, shot when they could, but they recognized him before he popped off the shots. First of all, why wasn't that area secured? Even the local police were like, why is this not secured? Why is there somebody up there? What is going on? And they were going, and they actually confronted the shooter before he popped off those shots. And anyway, they shot and killed him. I guess one shot apparently hit the rifle itself. And then I guess, I don't know if it was a Secret Service or security or whatever. The next shot, I guess they killed the kid. And then they investigated it and they cleared off the roof. And then they took that kid and incinerated him within a week or two. And now nobody talks about it anymore. No one will explain why the most strategic vantage point possible at a candidate running for president, former president, was left wide open. And somebody was able to climb up there and do this. It was insane. And they're really not answering questions. And why the Biden administration provided, it wasn't even really Secret Service. It was Department of Homeland Security people. It was this woman who was wholly unprepared. All of them really looked unprepared. And then after getting shot through the air, Trump stood up and threw his arm up, screamed, fight, fight, fight. Dude just got shot through the air, had blood on his face. A guy behind him was murdered and killed. 2 others were injured. And Trump stood up and said, fight. People wonder why he got reelected overwhelmingly in the country, which is still roughly, 60-40. Did that really happen? Yeah, not only did it happen, shortly thereafter, another time, a dude went on a golf course, one of Trump's golf courses, hid in the bushes for like 12 hours, and then started shooting as Trump was approaching. Now, he was shooting at Secret Service, who shot back, and then that guy jumped in the car and took off, and then they caught him later. Okay, that happened. Now, a California man, apparently carrying ammunition on his person, he had a gun or maybe multiple guns in his car, was arrested on Sunday at President Trump's Los Angeles area golf course, after authorities say he was observed walking through the grounds, taking photographs and video, and monitoring security preparations 2 days before a scheduled fundraiser that will feature the president. So once again, I have to give the Secret Service security credit. They're getting better because they caught this dude when he was scoping the place out. And then they went back to his car and found guns and munitions and things at his home. And the L.A. Sheriff's Department announced the arrest on Tuesday as Trump was getting ready to head to Los Angeles for this Republican National Committee fundraising dinner at Trump National Golf Course in Los Angeles. The event will take place in the coastal suburb of Rancho Palos Verdes, just south of L.A. Now, the guy's name, it's weird. The guy, he looks Latin, I think. His name is Janine. First of all, that's a woman's name, right? Have you ever met a woman named Janine? I don't know if he was non-binary or gay or trans, but he has a beard and dark hair and dark skin. Janine John Tayle, Taele, or Taylor, I'm not sure. He's 38 years old, of Downey, was carrying a 16-round magazine with ammunition in his pocket when they contacted him. A loaded pistol was recovered from his car, which had been parked on the golf course's property. He was arrested of suspicion of carrying a concealed firearm and possessing prohibited ammunition. Authorities also said he had already been under investigation by the El Segundo Police Department in an unrelated robbery case from last year. Seems like a really good dude. So the good thing is they set his bail at $250,000. Wait, that's it? Okay, so we'll go through that on today's program. Okay, so that happened, and that really was coming out yesterday, but I wanted to make sure that we covered that and opened the program with this. They're still trying to kill President Trump. They're not going to stop. I'm glad to see the security is doing a little better and catching these guys early before they actually are able to pop off some shots. I do fear for the president's life. I know there's a portion of the electorate out there that wants him dead. I'm not one of those people that relishes in the thought of dead politicians. I don't want any politician being assassinated, even the ones that I despise. Okay, so we got that. I was trying to line up a guest, which, by the way, doesn't look like the guy never got back with me. Anyway, regarding more, we talked with somebody last week about data centers. Well, there's an update. Governor Abbott has ordered state regulators to audit pending data center projects, seeking connections to the state's electric grid, a move that ERCOT says effectively pauses those projects as Texas is working with soaring electricity demand here by the summer, and then, of course, driven by artificial intelligence infrastructure. So we'll go through some of that today. So effectively, the data centers are on hold. This is an issue that Republicans are having to contend with. I'm looking, and I'm going to try to get somebody from the Data Center Coalition and try to get somebody on the program from that and talk about it and let them explain, I guess, similar to what we talked about here last week, but why these data centers are important and how many do we actually need, and, of course, dealing with, like I said, trying to keep up with China, okay, China, and some of these other deals, I guess. So we'll get into that as well. Okay, so there were some primary runs last night. I don't talk a whole lot about these primaries in other states because really, literally, we can't really do much about it here. We don't get to vote in them. But it is interesting to watch what's happening. Everybody claims it's all over but the counting for the Democrats to just have a clean sweep in November. But the Democrats are having a bit of a civil war on their own. Abdul El-Sayed narrowly defeats Haley Stevens and the Democrat establishment and will now face Republican Mike Rogers in Michigan. So that's interesting. This Abdul El-Sayed had defeated this establishment Democrat, Haley Stevens, according to the race calls from NBC and the decision desk. Apparently, it was very close, and they were still counting mail-in ballots. Oh, that's funny. So that happened last night, and once again, we had, well, I'll get into who was supporting who. TDS sufferer and impeachment recidivist Michigan Representative Shri Thanda the Barbarian. Well, I like to call him Thanda the Vulgarian. He lost his own primary to a Democrat socialist, Donovan McKinney, last night. This is the latest victory for progressives who have been on a hot streak, ousting incumbents in these safe blue districts. These are districts where the Democrats are most likely going to win. Well, Thandar, if you've seen him, you know who I'm talking about. He's this old Indian dude, but he's got really dark hair, like no gray, because he dyes his hair. It looks ridiculous, and he looks ridiculous. But then he's like, oh, yes, we're going to impeach Donald Trump again. They want to throw me out of the country. We're going to impeach him. We're going to take Donald Trump. We're going to take him outside. We're going to tar and feather, and then we're going to impeach him. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding. But I'm not kidding about impeaching him. We're going to impeach him today, and then tomorrow, and then again, and again, and again. We will continue impeaching him over and over and over again until I can't serve anymore next year because you've been ousted in your own primary by a Democrat socialist candidate. Because you know what they say? Democrat socialism is way better than regular socialism because it's communism on steroids. Well, maybe I say that. Maybe nobody else does. That's not all who lost last night. Wesley Ball defeated former squad member. You remember Corey Bush, right? She's a bundle of joy. Well, she got smoked again by this guy, got beat, and she got crushed. 68.9% versus 27.2%. She got obliterated by Wesley Ball in the primary. Now, he's beaten her before, but now he's beaten her again. So the Democrats, they're... Once again, it's going to be real interesting to see what happens. Now, with Saeed narrowly beating Haley Stevens, they're going to go up against Mike Rogers, the Republican candidate. This in Michigan, this gives the Republican candidate a shot. So if they can put some money behind them, get things going in the right direction, we may be able to see, a Republican winning in Michigan. It's going to be tough. But the Democrat Party continues to move in the socialist communist direction. No, they're straight up communist. Okay. Senator Susan Collins of Maine, a Republican, quote unquote, announced that she will vote against President Trump's nomination of Todd Blanche to serve as Attorney General. Okay. Thanks, Susan Collins. Speaking of bundles of fresh air, she's just a treat. I'll call her a treat. She's just such a treat. And we have kind of a Chris X-Files today. It's kind of, I wouldn't call it a full out, all outright, Chris X-Files, but kind of Chris X-Files. Early this morning, a SpaceX rocket slammed into the moon at 7 times the speed of sound. I watched the video. Holy smoke, that rocket was hauling. Now lunar orbiters are trying to get a look at the aftermath. Now, this morning, about 2:35 a.m., I thought I heard a noise. The upper stage of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket crashed into the moon. To dissect exactly what happened, scientists are looking at imagery of the crash and with help of a couple of moon probes. So we'll get into that. I'll go through that entire, not the entire article, but most of it. That's kind of a Chris X-Files. On the video, I watched it. It smacks into the moon. There's a big plume of dust. Instead, there's not really an explosion because there's no atmosphere on the moon, but it hit, and it was traveling fast. And we'll go into some of the details about what the impact looks like and what happened. Let's go ahead and take a break. We'll take your phone calls if you want to weigh in on any of the primaries last night. You want to talk about them trying to kill President Trump again? Because clearly this guy was an attempted assassin. They just got to him before he could do anything. Or Governor Abbott basically effectively pausing the data centers here in Texas. Make sure they're not draining on the grid away from taxpaying Texans. 281-558 KSEV, 281-558-5738. I'm Chris X. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The revolution continues after this. ChrisXradio.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
NPL 38548.
Is it time to sell your house? Well, then hire a real estate team that will sell your house quickly and for top dollar. That's the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. The team concept starts with experience, a drive and passion from Ronnie and Kathy Matthews, the founders. They built their team with specialists from every aspect of the real estate transaction, from the buyer's agent to the contract administrator to the marketing specialist. This team is working full-time to get your home sold and every detail handled professionally. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group at 281-440-7900 or on the web visit thematthewsteam.com. Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, your realtor for life. Call now for a free home evaluation, 281-440-7900. That's 281-440-7900. Or see for yourself and go online at thematthewsteam.com. I chose them as my realtor, and you'll be happy if you do as well. That's the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group at 281-440-7900 or thematthewsteam.com.
That's the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, brokered by EXP.
Hey, y'all, it's Craig Collins. I wanted to let you know that my show airs every afternoon on KSEV from 6 to 7 p.m. I also wanted to encourage you to follow our social media pages. We are now live streaming most of our local content on KSEV Radio's YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter pages, as well as some of our select shows on KSEV Radio's Facebook page. Once again, please follow us at KSEV Radio on YouTube, Rumble, and X. And please follow me at Radio Craig C on X and on Facebook.
Check Pro Joe here. Don't miss the Check Pro Radio Show, your trusted source for home service pros. This week, we're featuring Bel Air Conditioning, keeping Houston cool and comfortable. Tune in every Friday at 11 a.m., right here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
You know, where we go in life matters, and what we do matters, and we know that taking the wrong road won't produce the best outcomes. Hi, I'm Kathy with Baker Mortgage, and we want you to take the right path when it comes to your mortgage. You know, we live in a world of information overload, but always consider the source. And these are not generally going to be from your big bank or a random offer that comes across your screen. Remember, you're always going to get a better deal on one that you go looking for than one that comes looking for you. You need to deal with somebody who gives a you-know-what, whether or not you're happy in the end. At Baker Mortgage, we do it right. We haven't been around for 68 years because we're lucky. We don't sell CDs, insurance, or anything else. We just provide a great mortgage experience. Isn't that what you're looking for? Call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
Fake news hates us. Fake news hates us. ChrisXradio. ChrisXradio.
Now, this is one of those songs that I really enjoyed playing live. It's Come Down by Bush. That's a good song. And they were a band that was really hot in the 90s, and then I guess they just disappeared like everybody else. I remember, what was the singer's name? Gavin Rosdale. I think he was married to Gwen Stefani for a while, and then somebody told me he came out as gay or bi or I don't know. Why would you marry Gwen Stefani if you're gay? That doesn't make any sense to me. Then again, why would you run for Senate in the state of Texas, the U.S. Senate, and brag about trans people when you're gay? I mean, if you were, not if you're the most heterosexual ever. Fanboy over trans podcast hosts. Really? Anyhow, welcome back to Chris X Radio. It is your Hump Day edition. That is right. It is Wednesday here on the Voice of Texas. Oh, it's only about 99 degrees in my area, so we are definitely in the dog days of August. It is very hot. So if you're outside, you're dealing with this heat, my Lord. It's hard enough to keep your house cool on the inside. Everybody's electric bills are going to be pretty high. No, mine are up, but mine aren't as bad as they used to be, I guess, in some ways. I remember there was one summer here in Studio X where I just had to cool down the whole house. And it, like I said, I'd set the air conditioner like on 68 degrees, and it was running. The rest of my house was freezing, and I was cooking here in Studio X. We had put in a return and just couldn't offset the heat from all the equipment. And I said, okay, we got to get this figured out. So finally I was able to get the split unit, and man, that changed the world. Now I sit here in this icy cold temperature, freezing, which I love, by the way. I don't mind. It's so funny. I could turn it up, make it a little more comfortable, I guess but no, I'm leaving it right where it's at. This actually is good because the machinery performs better when it's cold. I had to replace my computer, the mainframe computer that I use, not too long ago. And my brother, Mike X, he's a computer, nerd guru. And what happened was the fan, because it was so hot in the room, ran constantly, and then it went out. And then he said, oh, you can just oftentimes replace that. He goes, no. He goes, man, you fried the whole thing. It was so hot in here. I was like, oh, that makes sense. So I have a backup computer, another one. The fan, every now and then, will kick on and makes noise. So that one didn't run quite as often, but here we are. So dealing with the heat. By the way, quick shout out. I want to send my thoughts and prayers to my cousin. My dad's brother passed away last night. His Uncle Sam, which I know it's a tie-in with America, but he was the guy that, one of the families that were closer. Our dad had brothers and sisters. Most of them lived elsewhere, but Sam's always lived in the Austin area. And he made it. He actually lived not only longer than my dad, He lived about just a few months longer. My dad, basically made it just a week shy of his 85th birthday. And then my uncle lived to be 85 in a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. And he passed away last night. So to my cousin Shannon and their family, I know that's a tough time for them right now as they go through the process. But Sam, the reason why I mention him, one, he's a family member, but two, I talk about going up to the hill country. Those were my fondest memories of my uncle because we would go up and hunt. And he was always was a fantastic hunter. So I had, always had a great time up there hunting with my uncle and my dad. And that I still go up to the same ranch. Like I said, they were going up there 50 years ago. And I started about 45, 46, 47 years ago, maybe 48 years ago. So I went up there and then took a bit of a break when I got into radio and then started going back up. And then that's one of the reasons why, literally the only reason why between my dad and my uncle, or of course my cousin, but literally those are the reasons I like to go up there because they're very fond memories. My dad was always in such a good mood, and it was the most relaxed I'd ever seen him. And my uncle was always, he was different, but he was cool, and he was a great hunter. And the other thing, too, was my dad was good at this, but my uncle, he was a stalk hunter. If you know what a stalker is, most people call hunting, it really has nothing to do with hunting. They put up a feeder, and then you feed these animals, like the hogs, in my case, or deer or whatever, and then they sit in a blind or whatever, and then when the deer come up, they look for a good one, they shoot it, they call it hunting, and then they go clean it, and there you go. Well, we didn't do that back in the day. We would go, and my dad and my uncle, and usually my brother would be with my dad, and oftentimes I was with my uncle, and we would walk, and there were times where, he was such a good hunter, we would walk up on, a whole 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deer. There was one time where he sat there, he shot, 5 at one time? Now, that literally cleans out your entire tags. And I guess they can't do anything to them now. So I'll admit, this was one of the last days of deer season. And my younger brother he was very young at the time and hadn't filled out his tags. So basically we were filling out the tags. That was what he did. This is probably 79 or 80 maybe. And we were able to fill out all the tags, and that way they had enough meat, and we ate all the deer, of course. But that was back then. But, it was not uncommon for him to shoot 2 or 3 deer at one time. And I remember walking with him. I was walking right behind him, and he just pulls up his gun, pow, 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 shoots 3 of them. I was like, man. And I was a little kid back then. So, but they were good hunters. And I remember hunting with my Uncle Sam. And so now I guess he's off in that, deer pasture in the sky. I'm sure he's reunited with my dad and their brothers and sisters. So anyway, so shout out to the family, and our thoughts and prayers are with them as they navigate this. And we just went through it, like I said, 5 years ago with my dad. It's almost 5 years ago to the day. We're within a month. So it's just, that's rough. And I know vast majority of our listeners have been through it as well. But once again, whenever I talk about why I like to go up to the hill country, that he was a big part of it, along with my dad. We had the most fun. Like I've always said, I never got any thrill out of killing deer. It was the hunt, it's the thrill of the chase. But when you capture them, that's, like I said, I never got any thrill out of killing animals. And I still don't get any thrill out of it. That's why I don't hunt deer, even though I'm on a deer lease. But I do hunt the hogs because they cause a tremendous amount of damage. And they cost these ranch owners millions of dollars. And they are, a pest, a parasite, whatever. So that's why I'll hunt the hogs. And I don't even kill many of those. I do it kind of for the sport, but also, once again, to help out. The more you shoot at them, it's the only way you can kind of curtail that population, because just in the last few months since the season ended and it started getting hot, there's so many new piglets that I see coming around with the hogs. So, literally need to get up and do it again. The guys in the South Pasture, they're still there. They're good hog hunters as well. They seem to be really the only ones that sort of get out and hunt the hogs or coyotes or, these pests, the varmints, if you will, the coyotes or the bobcats, or is it anything that goes? And we've seen there's one lately. I've seen a deer, a deer, as my dad said, a teenage deer. I seen that there's a doe came by with twins. You don't get to see twins with spots very often, but this is the time of year. So there's some cute little deer that come by, and I'm like, hey, man, stay at my feet, or you kids are safe if you do that. Now, nobody's out shooting them with spots on them, but the mother and the deer are fat because they got a lot of rain this year. So they've had plenty of food to eat. Even when my feeder was out of food for a while, they still had plenty. So it's cute to see them come by, but I'm seeing, man, there's one hog about the size of a rhinoceros that is coming back. He brought the whole family the other night. So at some point, I'll be heading back up. That's why I'm also, I mentioned this too, that I called a location here around Houston looking for a suppressor. You know, the noise suppressor. They call them silencers, but they're not silencers. They're noise suppressors, and depending on how much you want to pay. So if anybody knows somebody that knows a lot, because I don't know anything about them. I talked to a guy for the first time. They got rid of that $200 tag fee or whatever they called it. So that's not the case anymore. So you can buy them for cost, but you still have to go, and it's funny, you have to get fingerprinted and all that stuff, which I already did because I have my license to carry. But I want to go get a suppressor, and I don't want one for a pistol. I just want one for my AR that I go up there and hunt hogs with, so I don't necessarily have to wear the ear protection. I don't like walking around with the ear protection on. If I'm just sitting in a blind, that ain't no big deal. But if I'm walking around and I stalk hunt, like my uncle, my dad, and sometimes that's the way I hunt the hogs. So I want to be able to do that and be able to have a gun that I can fire that's not going to blow my ears out. So I talked to a guy about the suppressors. I don't know anything about them. He was recommending one called Stacy's Mom, which I thought was hilarious. So if you want to play the song Stacy's Mom's, I said, man, I hear that suppressor's got it going on. But he was recommending that one. That one has all these different things you can do. I don't know if that's the one I'm going to get, but I'm going to go try to get one that is affordable. We're talking $500, $600, $700, by the way. And then, but get one that's not really adjustable that I can put on and leave it and I don't have to mess with it. And it just really, I want something that really cuts the decibel level down. He was telling me they cut it down from generally an AR is about 190, 200 decibels. But these ARs, what is it? I think the Stacy's Mom cuts it down to like 138, so it's substantial. They're still loud. It changes the intonation, so it's a different sound. And I guess the animals don't hear it as well. But it takes off, it cuts a lot of that stuff that would blow your ears out because those ARs are loud. But literally, that's the only reason I want one. I want one just to cut it down so it's not so damn loud if I'm walking around and shoot, because otherwise your ears get blown out. And by the way, it's kind of important for me to be able to hear in the radio industry, to say the least. Okay, sorry, that was a sidebar. That should be a Friday show on Thursday story. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about, speaking of guns, this dude that decided to go and try to scope out Trump's golf course preparing for, well, he had a lot of bullets on him, had some guns in his car, had other stuff at home. All right, 281-558 KSEV, 281-558-5738. You're listening to Chris X Radio. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere.
Call Chris X Radio now. 281-558 KSEV. 281-558 KSEV.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
NPL 38548.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
I started my first business at 12 years old, mowing lawns for about $5 a yard. I thought I was crushing it until my buddy down the street undercut me by $2. But he didn't just cut the price. He cut corners too. That's when I learned if you do the job right, people trust you, and integrity beats profit. People care more about how you show up and whether you do what you say you're going to do. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Garage Door Doctor. From garage door repairs to upgrades, we show up, we crush it, and we stand behind every job. We only use the best parts, and the spring's guaranteed to last a lifetime. Because when you care about the people you serve, you work harder, and it shows. From repairs to upgrades, call Garage Door Doctor today or schedule online at garagedoordoctor.biz. And yeah, we still beat the other guy.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
Finding a reputable business shouldn't require luck or chance.
But how can you tell who you can trust? Always look for the sign of a better business and find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
Hi, this is Michael Miller. Join me this weekend for the Backyard Bay radio program presented by Miller Pools and Texan Pools, now at our new time every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. And what we do here on the Backyard Bay radio program is talk about your backyard. And this time of year, wow, it's so hard not to just spend all your time out in the Backyard Bay. And I know sometimes you have questions. That's why we do the Backyard Bay radio program, to get you good, solid answers to any kind of questions that you may have concerning your swimming pools, or I'm looking to build a new swimming pool. Join me this weekend for the Backyard Bay radio program, now at our new time every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. right here on The Voice.
From the KSEV Weather Center, tonight expect clear skies with high humidity and a low of 79. Tomorrow anticipate partly sunny conditions with isolated thunderstorms possible in the afternoon, reaching a high of 95. Tomorrow night will be mainly clear and humid with a low of 78. Looking ahead to Friday, it will be sunny to partly cloudy with a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas in the afternoon and a high of 94. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
And now, back to ChrisXradio. ChrisXradio on the Voice of Texas.
I mean, you can't go wrong with a little Satch. Little Joe Satriani. Surfing with the alien. I wonder if that rocket that just crashed into the moon was surfing with the alien. And you know, this disclosure thing, boy, they're dripping it, aren't they? By the time they release the fact that we've been visited by aliens for probably 100 years at least, probably longer, then no one's going to care. That's how the drip method works. Welcome back to ChrisXradio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. Glad to have you here with us on our Hump Day edition. Went off on a little bit of a tangent in the last segment, so I'll get back to business. 281-558-KSEV if you want to join us. 281-558-5738. Okay, so I want to go through this. A California man carrying ammunition on his person. Why he was carrying ammo without a gun? Oh, the gun was in the car. Was arrested on Sunday at President Trump's Los Angeles area golf course after authorities say he was observed walking through the grounds, taking photographs and video, appearing to scout and monitor security preparations 2 days before a scheduled fundraiser that would feature the president. The LA County Sheriff Department announced the arrest Tuesday as Trump prepared to land in Los Angeles for the Republican National Committee fundraising dinner at Trump's National Golf Course. The event will take place in the coastal suburb of Rancho Palos Verdes, just south of L.A. Now, deputies said the guy's name is weird because he doesn't look like a Janine at all. But his first name is Janine John Taile, Taele. He's of Downey. He was carrying a 16-round magazine with ammunition in his pocket when they contacted him. By the way, that's frowned upon in the communist state of California. A loaded pistol was also recovered from his car, also frowned upon in the communist state of California, which, by the way, the car was parked on the golf course's property. He was arrested on suspicion of carrying a concealed firearm and possessing prohibited ammunition. Authorities also said he had already been under investigation by the El Segundo Police Department in an unrelated robbery case from last year. His bond has been set at only $250,000, which is crazy to me. A guy who's scouting out the president's golf course where the president is armed to the teeth, and they only gave him $250,000 bond. I guess he didn't murder anyone, so he didn't get out on a PR bond, I guess, in these communist-controlled states. He faces possible charges related to large capacity magazine, short-barreled rifle, shotgun, and the 2025 robbery. Detectives assigned to the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force obtained and executed a search warrant on Monday at Tayel's residence, where they discovered a range of items that included firearms, magazines, ammunition, body armor, and notebooks containing what the sheriff's department called, quote, concerning statements. Well, what did it say? You can tell us or not. Trump has owned the Rancho Palos Verdes property for years. The course has held political and private events in the past. Plainclothes federal agents first reported this suspicious-looking individual on the golf course on Sunday afternoon, and deputies from the Lornita station responded. They made contact with Tayil and discovered the ammunition and the loaded firearm. Once again, I say this is an upgrade. The guy did not get off any shots. He didn't run through Secret Service and shoot one while President was about to have the correspondence dinner, the White House correspondence dinner. He didn't get off shots that killed someone like poor Corey Compatore and his family and injure two others and shoot the president through the air like what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. He didn't hide behind bushes and fire off shots and get into a gunfight with Secret Service while the president was shortly in tow behind. No, this guy got caught a couple of days early. So that tells me, well, it's a good sign. Maybe security's getting better. Maybe they're getting better at protecting the president, because at this point it should be clear to everyone that they have no interest in the radicals have no interest in stopping trying to murder the president. They're going to continue to try to kill the president of the United States. They have somehow determined that it is okay, and they want to try to murder him. He's the root of all evil. Somehow it's okay to murder Donald Trump because, well, if you had a chance to kill Hitler, well, you'd go do it. Which is really faulty logic, which is what happens when you're dealing with Democrats, because they don't use a thing called logic. They respond entirely emotionally unhinged, and they're insane. And they will kill you when you disagree with them. So, of course, they want to kill Donald Trump because he's very outspoken. Just like they killed Charlie Kirk. A guy as nice as could be. He just dared to have a conversation, so he had to be killed. We've seen this throughout history. Presidents are often, targets for assassination. I think it's happened. Every president who served probably in the last, 30, 40 years has probably been targeted for assassination. If you go back and look, I'm sure you'll find it. Some more than others. I don't think anybody has been targeted as many times as Donald Trump has. I mean, you got Iran trying to kill him. You got Democrats trying to kill him. You got 21-year-olds trying to kill him. You got 38-year-olds trying to kill him. People are trying to murder him. I love the meme. There's a meme that it goes back to, it's like back in the, the 80s. And Donald Trump says, I just got visited by myself in the future, and why do they keep trying to kill me? I'm just a real estate developer. Yeah. Well, that changed. It turned out you're a Republican. Oh, my God. Oh, dear Lord, we can't have this. I remember when he announced he was running the first time, I said, man, if he will do half of what he wants to do, he will be 1,000 times better than any Democrat. That is still the case. It is a no-brainer. I voted for Donald Trump all 3 times he has run for president. I'll vote for him again in 2028. I'm just kidding. He's not running, or is he? I don't think he's going to run. I think finally he might actually retire. At a certain point, you got to think, God, man, aren't you sick of this stuff? Wouldn't you be tired? I mean, how long can you go with people trying to murder you, people trying to impeach you constantly? They lose their mind. The Trump derangement syndrome, people like Rosie O'Donnell who left the country, and then she said, I think Donald Trump is obsessed with me. Well, all she does is melt down online about Donald Trump all day, every day, but he's obsessed with her. There you go. I actually heard, was it on Kilmeade's, was Tyrus filling in, and he interviewed a guest, and a guest talked about how Trump derangement syndrome is real. He said one of the reasons why it's a real disorder is that those who have it are a little, as someone else mentioned, their cheese may not be all the way on their cracker, And what happens is then they go in and you become this Trump deranged individual and you hate Trump. And instantly, the moment you hate Trump, you have a built-in support system that is millions of people wide. So that really sort of changes the dynamic. You go, oh, well, that makes sense why Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing. And that's why these weirdos somehow think this is a good thing. First of all, you're trying to murder someone. First of all, you're trying to murder the president of the United States, I guess second of all. And then third of all, you're just insane because you're going to get caught one way or the other, whether you pull it off or not. But generally, that doesn't, you're not able to pull it off. They haven't successfully assassinated and murdered a president since, Kennedy. They shot Reagan, hurt him pretty good. They didn't wound, Trump is bad. But they shot him through the ear. They've tried. And then the whack jobs not only do that, then they come out with the crazy conspiracy theories, which are absolutely insane. It was staged. So Trump staged it where a guy shot him through the ear. Okay, I got you. That makes perfect sense. No, it doesn't. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. Hey, Mike and Tom Ball, hold on. We'll get to you here in the next segment. We got to take a very short break, so we'll make sure we come back and get you here before we wrap things up in the next segment for the first hour, and then get you rolling for hour number 2. Once again, these people they're insane. Even the guy who murdered Charlie Kirk, right after he murdered him, he went and was telling, was it his gay, trans, furry lover or whatever? He goes, man, I feel terrible. I think I made a bad mistake. You think? You murdered someone in cold blood because you disagreed with them, and somehow you think that was a good thing? How did that make sense on any level other than the fact that liberalism is a mental disorder and these people are nuts? But it doesn't mean they don't know what they're doing. 281-558-KSEV. You're listening to Chris X Radio. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere.
Chris X Radio.
Tune in to the Ray Massey Reverse Mortgage Show each Friday at 1 p.m. and Saturdays at 3 p.m. with Treybo Mortgage. Or call Ray directly at 855-266-1600 or online at reversemortgages4Texans.com.
Gas Product Services is ready to help you get prepared. If you have a gas grill or outdoor kitchen that needs servicing or an upgrade, contact Russell Metzler with Gas Product Services. Over 20 years in the gas product business, Russell is your go-to guy for all your home's natural gas items and ideas. From outdoor kitchens or grills to recreational fire features and gas lights, Russell can add inspiring outdoor ambiance and culinary functionality for all your backyard gatherings. Call Russell at 281-798-8006 or visit gasproductservices.com.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate. Our country's founding fathers drafted a document that is the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. My friends at O'Hara & Company Real Estate, we believe we're at a precipice in time where we must take back our country. We must stand up for our freedoms or lose them forever. Please don't sit idle and let it slip away. Don't let anyone force you to do something you choose not to. As JFK said, if not us, who? If not now, when? If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393, 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. I'm Kevin O'Hara. God bless America, and God bless Texas.
Hi, this is Louis Flory. You've been relying on Ability Tree Experts for decades to protect and maintain the valuable trees on your property. You can continue to rely on the same professional services. So call Ability Tree Experts at 281-441-4179 today.
Chris X here to tell you about Humble Amco Transmission and AC Specialists. People who know go to Amco. I personally trust Jay Streckfus and Humble Amco with all of my vehicle's needs. With complete car care, they'll take care of all of your auto needs as well. Always a free check engine light inspection, and tell them that Chris X sent you for a free engine scan. Call Jay today at 281-446-0862. That's 281-446-0862, or online at humbleamco.com.
Whether you're playing with your kids or playing for the Houston Astros, a sprain, tear, or nagging ache can set you back. Until your expert orthopedic team at Houston Methodist uses advanced technology to personalize a treatment plan that's minimally invasive, healing your pain, and getting you back to life on your terms. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it for you. Houston Methodist, leading medicine. Official healthcare provider for the Houston Astros.
The voice of Texas, the voice of reason. ChrisXradio.
Man, I loved Hocus Pocus by Focus. This is Gary Hoey's version. It's a crazy sort of progressive jazz rock, weird 70s band. But as a young budding drummer in the 80s, I love this song because there's a great drum breakdown in it. I remember introduced to it, I'm like, wait, who, what? What is this? This is amazing. Anyway, welcome back to Chris X Radio. I am the aforementioned X-Man. Glad to have you here with us as we will control the airways for another hour. We're going to wrap up this first hour, and then we'll come right back at you. We got a lot to get into. In hour number 2, we'll talk about Governor Abbott ordering state regulators to audit pending data center projects, seeking connections to the state's grid. The move, ERCOT says, effectively pauses all the projects as Texas deals with soaring electricity demand driven by this artificial intelligence infrastructure. The AI stuff apparently uses a tremendous amount of electricity. So they got to deal with that. And then, of course, water issues as well. So that'll be very interesting. I had reached out to the Data Center Coalition, and I hadn't heard back yet. I'm going to try to get somebody on maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, and get somebody on from the coalition and talk about, because we talked to somebody, these things are important. Everybody thinks, oh, man, I'm using my smartphone. Everything I'm doing is saved on the cloud. Well, I hate to tell you this, but the cloud ain't in the cloud. The cloud is a data center somewhere, and we need them. People are trying to compare us to China. It's like, well, no, there is a comparison to China and other countries, but we're the biggest consumers on the planet. And everything we consume online is in a cloud, quote unquote, data center somewhere. So we'll get to that here in the next hour. And then, like I said, I'm going to try to get a guest on once again, probably tomorrow or next week. Anyway, 281-558-KSEV if you want to join us here before we wrap up the first hour, 281-558-KSEV. Let's go to Mike listening in Tomball. Mike, thank you for hanging on. Welcome to Chris X Radio.
Chris, threatening the president or the vice president of the United States with physical harm or death is against federal law. You don't have to do it. Just the threat of it is against federal law. And those people that threaten the president or the vice president with physical harm should be, or he does it or tries it, should be prosecuted to the absolute fullest extent of the law, regardless of whether that president or vice president is Republican or Democrat. It cannot be tolerated. The left can't use their hatred of Trump as a defense like they think they can. That's so deranged and stupid to say they use their hatred of Trump as a defense mechanism. That's just ludicrous. And it really, really, both left and right, who are law-abiding citizens, should see that threats like this against the president and the vice president, regardless of party, is wrong and should be taken to the fullest extent. And I'll close with this. In 2020, there was a group of nuts that built the gallows and was threatening, hang Mike Pence, when he was a sitting VP. Those people should have been prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law for that threat against him as well. I do not believe in violence like that. It is wrong, but especially against our leaders, regardless of party. And that is neither Republican or Democrat. That's just what's right.
Well, as you mentioned, it's federal law.
It is federal law. To threaten a president or vice president is against federal law.
But that doesn't seem to be deterring anyone these days, does it? It doesn't deter many of these crazies on the left, does it?
No, it doesn't. I don't understand. They think that because they can hate Trump, that there was a senator from New Jersey, Booker, I believe, was trying to say, to get someone to say, I don't remember who he was, to try to get someone to say that that's a defense. That's no defense. That's ludicrous. And the left, those people who advocate that, if they do it, they need to be prosecuted, regardless of which party it is. I don't care which party it is. I don't care. I
agree.
And that's the way I feel. I call it the way I see it. That's the way I feel.
Well, thank you for the call, Mike. Good points. Yeah, it is a crime. It is a federal crime. Threatening a president, threatening someone. But then when you have people, senators like, I don't know, maybe the brother of a scientist or an astronaut who does this thing saying, you don't have to comply with the president if he gives unlawful commands, and they do this little commercial, and it runs out, and they're actively calling for people to oppose the president of the United States. And then, of course, you got these governors and these Democrats that actively hate and say, well, Trump needs to be taken out. We need 8647. Former head of the FBI or the CIA or whatever, these people that have determined it is okay, that actively call for violence and do it under a guise of whatever, and then you find yourself where we are today. It reminds me of, I don't know if you saw this, earlier this week there was this lady, she was a Muslim, she was arguing that, hey, listen, I'm not like these other Muslims that are willing to, that'll actually burn you to death. But if you don't stop doing what you're doing, well, you'll get it from us. Wait, what? Hour number 2 is up next.
AM 700 KSEV, Tomball, Houston, and streaming online at KSEVradio.com, the voice of Texas.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Abdul El Sayed, an insurgent former public health official who harnessed Democratic frustration with the party establishment, narrowly defeated Congresswoman Haley Stevens in Michigan's U.S. Senate primary, setting up a crucial test for progressives in a key battleground state. Senate Majority Leader John Thune says he's looking forward to the general election in Michigan after Democrats nominated El Sayed, who will face off against Republican Mike Rogers.
I think it's a great contrast. Mike Rogers is a great candidate, very experienced, ran last time, learned a lot, and I think is running a terrific campaign, and fortunately benefited this time from not having to have a divisive primary like what happened in his last race.
The outcome of the Michigan Senate race could help decide control of the U.S. Senate. A heavily armed man who was checking out security at Trump National Golf Club in Rancho Palos Verdes, California, ahead of the president's visit there, is under arrest.
The 38-year-old facing 5 charges, including a felony. Staff spotting him scoping out security on Friday prior to the president's visit there on Tuesday. Court documents say the suspect was wearing an earpiece while taking pictures and videos of security guards and surveillance cameras on the property. The suspect returned again on Saturday, and that's when he was arrested. Detectives finding bullets in his pocket and a loaded gun in his car. When they search his home, they find a rifle, body armor, and a notebook reportedly containing disturbing statements about the president.
Correspondent Laura Winters reporting. Iran and Oman have moved closer to an agreement on the Strait of Hormuz. This comes after President Trump said a deal to reopen the critical waterway could be announced soon. The strait's closure has driven up global fuel prices. More at townhall.com.
Hey, y'all, I'm Willie Robertson.
And I'm Corey Robertson.
We partnered with Echo. It's a new platform, not just streaming.
Movies and series that are safe for your family. I love a podcast.
Plus, Echo Daily Devotionals.
Echo.
Hey, Willie, what is Echo?
Echo is my pet squirrel. Okay, now, Echo is not just faith-friendly, it is faith-driven.
Be a part of something better.
Echo.
Echo.
It's where I want to be.
That's EKKL.com.
Subscribe now.
Hi, Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Step up your grilling game with our Solaire portable infrared grills. Our compact everywhere is a favorite of RVers and trailer pullers. Solaire infrared provides the quick sear for bar marks and texture needed to properly finish sous vide. Use a portable alongside your larger conventional grill to create an instant sear zone and more juicy and flavorful food. Learn more at BestHotGrill.com. Affordable, powerful, portable infrared grills at BestHotGrill.com.
This hour of the Chris X Show is brought to you by the John Doe Fan Club, in favor of God, family, country, and sensible conservative solutions for Texas.
This True Sand commentary is brought to you by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals. Call 281-441-4179.
From KSEV, Here's political contributor Ben Strusand.
Most polling shows that Republicans are going to have a tough time winning majorities in both houses of Congress in November. Voters blame Trump for inflation and believe that many of the necessities they need to purchase have become unaffordable. 2 out of 3 voters don't believe that preventing Iran from building a nuclear weapon is worth the higher gas prices that they are paying. Voters never give a president credit for preventing bad things like a nuclear war from happening. President Trump should realize by now that the Islamic Republic will never agree to a deal that results in a Trump win. The mullahs read the polls and see the domestic political pressure to end the war. It's part of their strategy. We should stop chasing a bad deal. This does not mean that we should resume unlimited airstrikes, but rather targeted decapitation strikes against their leadership, as the Israelis used effectively. If Iranian leaders won't cut a deal, then let's get new ones. The real leverage we have against Iran is economic. We destroyed what Iran took decades to build. Their defense industrial base used to manufacture drones, missiles, and nuclear weapons. Inflation in Iran is running at 40%. The blockade collapsed the revenue stream used by the Revolutionary Guard Corps, their security services, and all the government infrastructure. If our blockade is allowed to continue and not stopped by Democrats and a few lame duck Republicans in Congress, we can eliminate the mullah's leverage over its people. We don't need regime change to pressure them into a better deal for us. Just perseverance. Intercepting what leaks out via Iran's shadow tanker fleet will speed the process. The best guess is this pressure will take 6 months to show results, right around the time of the elections. I'm Ben Strusand, and that's my view.
Ben Strusand, only on AM 700 KSEV.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing, the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today, my friend for nearly 40 years, at 281-441-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
KSEV 700 AM.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisXradio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Chris X.
So John Fetterman apparently laughed in the face of Abdul al-Sayed after the Democrat socialists called him ugly and said he should be put on a pike. And Fetterman said, "Chief, I own mirrors. I know I'm an ugly guy." Fetterman said al-Sayed's attacks show little man syndrome and warned his arrogance during the primary could come back to bite him. Wolf Blitzer was like, "Are you willing to unify with Abdul al-Sayed, for example, who's now the Democrat nominee, the Democrat candidate?" And Fetterman said, "Oh, yeah, the tough guy. He called me ugly, and then I should be on a pike." And I'm like, "Chief, I own mirrors. I know I'm ugly. But if you want me on a pike, I mean, He has like a little man syndrome kind of energy. And now he was really arrogant in that race. And now he has just found out, less than a majority of Democrats want him. So, Fetterman is a weird guy. You know what? I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. The doctor who treated Fetterman after his last stroke that he had, because he had stroke and had depression, and I remember talking about him because I'm not a fan of most of his policies, but whoever that doctor was who treated him, not only does that guy deserve a raise, second of all, he should treat every single Democrat. Because Fetterman, even though he's nothing close to being a Republican, is the only one that is standing up to the lunacy, the anti-Semitism, and the insanity that is running rampant through the Democrat Party today. And then you got guys like El Sayed, who won last night. Barely. And we'll get to that in this hour. You've got people like Sri Thandar the Gregarian. I call him Thandar the Vulgarian. Even though it's not really vulgar, he's just an Indian guy who looks really weird because he dyes his hair. It should be gray, but it's not gray because it's very black. It's very dark, and he has a weird haircut. It almost looks like he's wearing a wig. I don't think he is, but it looks that way. And Thandar got beat to Democrat socialist Donovan McKinney. Once again, these Democrat socialists, most of them are very anti-Jewish, anti-Israel, anti-Semites. Wesley Ball defeated former squad member Cori Bush, who this may be a little bit of a reversal, so we can get to that. Anyway, welcome back to Chris X Radio. You've reached the second hour of the program. Glad to have you here on our Hump Day edition of the program. This is the final hour of the program of the show. We'll go from 4 to 6 as we do each Monday through Thursday. Tomorrow we'll be back for our Friday show on Thursday. That's where we have a little fun, get to goof off a bit. We do our Friday show because the Amigos take over every Friday from 4 to 6. That is El Senador, Paul Betancourt, the judge, and then bat and cleanup with his big bat Lucille that he figuratively plants upside the head of the judge. He's been trying to knock some sense into the judge with it for 20-plus years, but I'm sorry, you can knock on that door all you want, and there ain't nobody home. And the judge isn't an idiot. He's not stupid. He's just a weird lefty. And just like with most lefties, there is no reasoning with them. They believe what they want to believe, and sorry, your facts be damned. So it is what it is. All right, so welcome back to the second hour. If you want to join us, or welcome to the second hour, back to the program. If you want to join us, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. Also, this hour, we're going to, well, at least in this hour, we're definitely going to get to Governor Abbott ordering state regulators to audit the pending data center projects before connecting them to the state's electric grid. That ERCOT says that effectively pauses those projects as Texas tries to grapple with soaring electricity demand driven by artificial intelligence infrastructure. So there's that. We'll get to that. And then I mentioned Abdul El Sayed narrowly beat Haley Stevens, the Democrat establishment candidate, and will now face off against Mike Rogers in Michigan. Now, El Sayed, he got a very small victory. I mean, with over 95% of the results in, he leads by approximately 16,000 votes. Very interesting. Stevens also was endorsed by a host of establishment Democrats, including Schmuck Schumer, outgoing Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. But it is amazing that the polls were way wrong with this one. The polls tend to be very wrong in a lot of these races, don't they? So we got that, and then, of course, Thandar, the Vulgarian. He's the guy that, he lost his own primary last night against a Democrat socialist, Donovan McKinney. So he's going to be gone. He's the guy that wanted to impeach Trump every 5 minutes. Oh, I'm going to impeach you again and over and over and over again. Oh, my God, have I committed a hate crime by actually trying to accurately imitate Thandar? It's Thandar, Sri Thandar. He's got a great name, but he looks absolutely ridiculous. He looks like a cartoon. He's an old guy. He's an Indian guy, very dark skin with dark hair. That hair should have some gray in it. By the way, okay, this may offend some of you. I don't mean this to be offensive to the older people in the crowd. It's okay to have a little gray hair as you get older. I'm lucky. Like I said, I'm 58. I have very little gray, a little in my temples, and that's it. So I've been very lucky. Of course, I'm one of those weird redheads. So trust me, I've been made fun of my hair my entire life. So that's no big deal. But when you're an old guy, like if you're like 70 and 80 years old and you're running around with a heavy dark color hair, and that's what Thandar looks like. He's wearing a wig. And it looks so unnatural that it throws people off. When I look at him, my brain starts malfunctioning. This doesn't make sense. He looks weird. Is he wearing a wig? Why is his hair so dark? Why does he look so weird? And then all of a sudden you find yourself, that's what you're concentrating on instead of taking him seriously. And apparently even his own constituency doesn't take him seriously, as he got bumped last night by a Democrat socialist, Donovan McKinney. Also who got beat last night was Cori Bush. Former squad member was defeated by Wesley Ball, who has defeated her in the past. So we got that. I wanted to do the Chris X Files, so it's kind of a Chris X Files, even though it's not a Chris X Files, but it's a Chris X Files. So we're going to do the Chris X Files, even though it's kind of not really a Chris X Files.
Imagine a place in the darkest corners of your mind. There's a man sitting there with a microphone. His name is Chris X. Now grab your tinfoil hats and take a journey with him into the Chris X Files.
I think Bigfoot's real. Actually, I don't, but it's funny because now, you know what? I look at those videos a little closer than I used to. Anyway, from the Chris X Files, kinda. Early this morning, a SpaceX rocket slammed into the moon at 7 times the speed of sound. Now lunar orbiters are trying to get a look at the aftermath. This morning, about 2:35 a.m., the upper stage of the SpaceX Falcon rocket crashed into the moon. So to dissect what happened, scientists are looking for imagery of the crash site, and with help of a couple of moon probes, NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter and NASA's ShadowCam instrument on the Korean Pathfinder Lunar Orbiter will look for opportunities to capture before and after imagery of the impact site. NASA spokesperson Rob Garner of the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland told Space.com. Image availability depends on several factors, including the impact location, lighting conditions, and when each spacecraft orbits the next carriers over the area, which may take a few days to receive the imagery. While it's likely seen the first stages of the Falcon 9 rockets, gracefully laying back here on Earth for reuse, the rocket's 9,000-pound upper stage is disposable. Typically, it's sent to burn up in our atmosphere when the missions are over. However, that wasn't possible with this rocket, which launched 2 private lunar landers, Firefly and Aerospace's Blue Ghost, and Tokyo-based, Aerospace's Blue Ghost, and Tokyo's iSpace's Resilience, to a high moon crossing Earth orbit for January of 2025. The Falcon 9 upper stage used most of its fuel getting to this distant location and couldn't make it back to deorbit Earth's atmosphere. So the company performed a different maneuver to take care of the upper stage. Julian Scheinman, director of NASA's Science and Dragon programs at SpaceX, said during a conference on August 3rd. For high-energy missions, we need to perform a different maneuver to ensure the second stage itself is safe per the appropriate rules and regulations, so that's what we did here. But the rocket body was still subject to natural forces, which acted on it over time, what has happened is essentially a mixture of solar activity and gravity forces put it on a path towards the moon. The Falcon 9 upper stage ended up slamming into the moon this morning at about 5,400 miles per hour. I think I drive about half that fast. It's likely it blasted out a crater up to about 89 feet wide. This is according to scientists' calculations. This was certainly not the original intended outcome for this rocket, but it does present this opportunity for researchers who took advantage of to learn more about the moon and with the impact of craters and various things. I saw video earlier this morning of the rocket hitting. And I don't know if it was professional video. It was clear. It was good. And that rocket was hauling booty, and it was cruising, and it left a huge impact. I mean, you saw the dust go on the moon because it's covered in dust. It's interesting because things don't really explode on the moon like they do here on Earth because there's no atmospheres, there's no oxygen. So it just just this big puff of smoke. Well, wasn't really smoke. It was dust. But it kicked up a huge load of dust. So I can't imagine what that would be like if it hit Earth. That would not be good. Now, we're lucky here on Earth because we have the atmosphere, which takes out a lot of steam out of most of these, meteorites and things, comets or what, not really comets, but these crazy things, falling stars, as we like to call them. That's why they light up in the atmosphere. Most of them burn up. And very few of them occasionally do make it through and will crash through a house every now and then or go in one hit back in was it 1907 that took out in Siberia. I think it was Upper Siberia. I guess a meteorite hit Upper Siberia and took out over 100,000 acres of forest. Look at some of the old videos of that. Now, this is, not videos, old film. And it literally leveled, was it 100,000 acres or 100,000 miles? It was incredible what happened. So we have to be very careful when you're dealing with stuff like this. And usually, I was reading in the article, they usually shoot things, they'll shoot them occasionally directly at the sun because before anything reaches the sun, it burns up. So there was your sort of kind of Chris X-Files today. Anyway, all right, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. We'll get to the phones. We got George out in Tomball. George, hold on. We'll get to your phone calls as well if you want to weigh in on Governor Abbott ordering the state regulators to audit the data centers, the pending projects, before they can connect to the state's grid. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. I'm Chris X. We're just getting rolling here in hour number 2. Don't you go anywhere.
You're listening to ChrisXradio on the Voice of Texas.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
Do you need money? Want to lower your monthly debt? Are you thinking about a cash-out refinance? Hi, it's Kathy from Baker Mortgage. A cash-out refinance can get you back in your comfort zone, and that's what it's all about. A recent client who closed with us had his payment go up about $300, but his monthly outgo was being reduced by $1,200, so giving him a net positive cash flow of $900. It's not about adding debt, but restructuring it in a way that makes sense, and this math totally makes sense. And please don't sweat it if your interest rate is going up a little or if you're extending the term. I can show you by taking a small amount of what you're saving monthly and applying it towards your mortgage, you're going to pay it off just as quickly and you'll be way ahead in the money game, which is where we all want to be, right? Remember, we want to help you, but we're not going to help you over a cliff. Baker Mortgage, 281-313-MOVE, or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
I started my first business when I was 12, mowing lawns for about $5 a yard. I learned if you do the job right, people trust you and customers care that you show up and do what you say you're going to do. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Garage Door Doctor. From garage door repairs to upgrades, we show up, we stand behind every job. We only use the best parts, and spring's guaranteed to last a lifetime. When you care about the people you serve, you work harder and it shows. Call Garage Door Doctor today or schedule online at garagedoordoctor.biz.
Garage Door Doctor.
The Three Amigos.
You all are appointment listening. I listen to you every Friday afternoon. Everything stops for you all.
The Three Amigos. Make an appointment every Friday afternoon at 4 on The Voice of Texas.
Chris X here to tell you about Humble Amco Transmission and AC Specialists. People who know go to Amco. I personally trust Jay Streckfus and Humble Amco with all of my vehicle's needs. With complete car care, they'll take care of all of your auto needs as well. Always a free check engine light inspection, and tell them that Chris X sent you for a free engine scan. Call Jay today at 281-446-0862. That's 281-446-0862, or online at humbleamco.com.
Start your mornings with the Chris Salcedo Show.
Let's go to New York, where David is standing by. Hello, David. Welcome to the Salcedo Show. What do you say?
I'm going to say Donald Trump was a backstabber, and you never call him out.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said. Give me an example of a lie.
I don't know. It doesn't matter what.
David is just like the folks over there at CNN and at MSNBS. Blind hatred.
And one other thing with that jerk from New York, David. That's why I left New York. This guy's a real Mama Luke.
Oh.
Right?
7 to 9 a.m. Chris X Radio.
I guess you got to really watch out for those Mama Lukes. That was a term I haven't heard in a long time. It's a real Mama Luke, you know what I'm saying? That's a New York thing, I guess. Oh, before that, Jay Streckfus over at Humble Amco. I'll be going to see Jay on Friday. My truck I mentioned has my 100,000. I'm at about like 114,000 miles on it now, and I've never had anything other than the oil changed. And once again, the first time I had the temperature gauge, the warning went off, and I took it to Jay, and they apparently didn't, when they changed my oil, they didn't tighten the thing enough. So I guess some steam was escaping, and he just added a little fluid, and boom, I was good to go. Haven't had any issues since, but I haven't changed anything. So, and the cracker smoker was emailing me saying, man, your brakes, you need to be careful. Don't be going to nothing but cake, because those cakes are to die for. I was like, oh, man, come on. Come on. But nonetheless, I think I'm going to go see him on Friday. One day this week. If not, I'll take you to next week. But to get the 100,000 mile, I guess they do the fluids flush with get probably all brand new radiator fluid and stuff. And then also do the fuel system flush. Get that done. Probably new spark plugs. The spark plugs now sound really cool. Man, I was reading about some of the things they offer. I'm like, whoa, okay. So new spark plugs, and then they'll do the fuel flush or whatever, and I guess check the belts and all. I don't know. They're the professionals, which is why I take my vehicle to for its first 100,000 mile service. I remember the dealer said, hey, this was like 75,000 miles. You need to go get the 75,000 mile checkup. And I'm like, how much does that run? They're like, about $1,500. I went, how about no? And then I talked to Jay, and he was like, that is insane. I was like, so how much is this going to cost? He's like, not anywhere near $1,000. I was like, okay, well, good. Then I'm good with that. So I'll go take that and get it done, make sure my truck, because it's been running great, so I want to keep it running great. At a certain point, I know I'm going to have to replace the brakes on it, but they haven't started squeaking or anything. So they've been good, and usually, that's the sign. My brakes are good. Haven't had any issues. They still stop my truck just fine. There's no grinding or squeaking or noise or anything. So we'll see. I'll get that taken care of. Anyway, welcome back to Chris X Radio. Glad to have you here with us. 281-558-KSEV if you want to join us, 281-558-5738. Let's go to the phones. Pick up with George, who's been patiently holding in Tomball. George, thank you for hanging on. Welcome to Chris X Radio.
Thank you, Chris. I imagine the next thing that's going to happen with Donald Trump is they're going to try to impeach him for our unprovoked attack on the Nazis on the moon. Because didn't you just say that we launched a missile at the moon to attack the Nazis?
Well, it wasn't a missile. It was a rocket, but I didn't mention the Nazi part. I forgot about them.
Yeah. There are Nazis on the moon. I saw. Isn't there 2 documentaries about that?
They're from the historical archives, I do believe.
Yeah, the historical, like The Martian. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy. But
I guess
no.
What's funny is, as much of a joke as you're making, it wouldn't surprise me if Democrats tried to impeach him over that, even though he didn't do it. It was SpaceX, and they got permission to do it. I guess got permission from Trump. So therefore, that is about how ludicrous their impeachment efforts are these days.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
thanks for the call,
Chris. That's my comment.
That's a good one. All right. So yeah, I forgot about the Nazis on the moon, and maybe Mars too. I think there's a few old movies. I think there's one, Nazis on the Moon. But you got to watch out for those moon Nazis, man. They're worse. They're way worse than the freedom Nazi like Elon Musk. Remember they tried to convince everybody that Elon Musk was a Nazi because he did the hand salute or whatever? And then they went and pulled out every single Democrat at every single public event for every single thing in the last, 50 years, and they all did the exact same motion, but somehow none of them were called a Nazi. But Elon Musk was a Nazi because he was, of course, doing Doge and taking away their slush fund. But I think there's a movie, Nazis on the Moon, and then I made a not-so-veiled reference to, what was it called, Galaxy Quest, if you've seen that movie. Where these aliens, it's basically a Star Trek television series. That's what the movie's based on. And Tim Allen, I guess, plays the Captain Kirk sort of character, and Sigourney Weaver's in it. And Sam Rockwell, who's great. And they're on a television series, and at a certain point, actual aliens come to Earth and want to incorporate. They think they're the real people they portray in the television series. And they're always doing, intergalactic saving, planets and things because they're being attacked by another alien species, and they end up getting thrown into it. And at a certain point, they're like, "Hey, don't you know it's just a TV show?" And they go, "Oh, you're referring to the historical archives?" They thought they were watching historical archives when they were watching television. They didn't realize they have no real sense of humor and no understanding. It was an alien race that doesn't lie. They'd never lied. They would have never imagined something like this. And that's why they were getting beat up so badly by the terrible monster. I think his name was Thandar. No, it wasn't Thandar. It was something different. But the horrible alien who was trying to exterminate them and take over their planet. But Tim Allen is hilarious. Sam Rockwell is hysterical. In the show, he doesn't even have a name. He doesn't have a last name on the show, so he had to get one. Sigourney Weaver, they made her a blonde, which was kind of weird, and tried to sex pot her up a little bit. And then there was the guy that was in, what was the series? He was in a few different series. I do believe, you know what? I guess I have to look this up because I'm dying right now. I think he's a total liberal idiot, but he's hilarious in the movie because the aliens, they make themselves look like humans, but they're not. They're actually like squid, sort of octopus-looking things. And the character that I'm referring to, he falls in love with one of them, which is hilarious. Tony Shalhoub, that's who I was thinking of. But it features, once again, Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman, Tony Shalhoub, Sam Rockwell. Who else is in it? Also a very young, what's that actor's name? Hold on, I'm at the top cast. I should probably go to full. There we go, full cast and crew. Justin Long, that guy, you know who that guy is. He's the guy that was funny. He told a story. He said, everybody thinks I'm like part Asian, and he's not. I think he's just Greek or whatever. That's like the guy who played in Saving Silverman, the guy who played Silverman, who was in American Pie. Can't remember that actor's name, but he always plays these, Jewish characters, and he's not Jewish. He's Greek. So, Rainn Wilson is in it. I forgot about him. He's he's Lonk. But it was great how they did the play off of the nerd cons and all of that stuff with the Star Trek. And, of course, Tim Allen was the Captain Kirk sort of character. But it's a very entertaining movie if you haven't seen it. But Tony Shalhoub, he was in a couple of different series. I guess I should go look up. Okay, before we break, even though I know I'm a little over, I'm going to go pull up Tony Shalhoub because he's been in a few things. There were a while back, I know he was in a series called, Monk. But he was in another series before that where he played a peripheral character, and I remember him from that one. Let's see if I can find that one. I don't see it. Oh, it's way back. Okay, so I have to keep going looking. Hey, he's actually been in a lot of stuff. I didn't realize Tony Shalhoub has been in so many things. He was in he was a voice in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Okay. Oh, he was in Men in Black 3. He's pretty funny in that. And I think he's a total lib idiot. But he was in Monk. That was a big series back from 2002 to 2009. So he had a good run with that. And then Free Radio? Don't know that one. Wasn't he anything else? I'm looking. He was in some other series. He's in Men in Black 2 as well. Okay. Spy Kids. He was in that. Okay. And then I can't see the other one. I guess I could probably sit here all day. I won't do that. Oh, he's in Fallout, the video game. He's one of the voice people. He was in Frasier. Okay, that was it. And Wings. Okay. I remember him from Wings. He was in 144 episodes. Wings was an entertaining show, and I loved Frasier. Frasier is a guy, of course, Kelsey Grammer, a guy with an amazing radio voice. He played was he a psychiatrist who hosted a radio show? And Frasier was great, which was a spinoff of Cheers. But Kelsey Grammer, good conservative too. He just had that amazing, fantastic, perfect radio voice. I could only dream of sounding like Frasier. I sound nothing like Frasier. The only thing I have in common is we're both conservatives. I guess I'll leave it at that. Which I don't think Tony Shalhoub is, but he's hilarious in Galaxy Quest. He was hilarious on Wings, and he even showed up in, I guess, some other stuff. But he's done a bunch of stuff. But he is hysterical. He plays the Sulu type character. Is it Sulu? Or I can't remember. I'm not a big Trekkie. But I do like Captain Kirk. I think he's a good dude. Of course, William Shatner. What is he, 99? The dude's 100. It's amazing. He looks amazing. And he's doing a tour. I saw he's coming to town, and he's playing like in a metal band or something. I don't think he actually plays in the band. I think he just sits there and talks over metal music or something. But, like, wait, what? So Captain Kirk, William Shatner, who is sort of kind of conservative, but not really. But he seems like a really good dude. He's about 100. Can't believe he's almost 100. Okay, let's take a break. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it, George. See what you sparked, George? You made me mention the historical archives, and then I had to tell everybody everything about Galaxy Quest, which everyone had to know because that was the most important thing instead of getting to Governor Abbott and regulating the data centers here in Texas. 281-558, KSEV, 281-558-5738. We'll be right back with more Frasier.
Elections have consequences. So does your radio dial. Don't touch it. ChrisXradio returns after this.
After a hard rain, you can see them. The water stains on the ceiling or the dripping water from a recessed light. Now you start to get nervous because you know leaks can cause big problems.
Once the water enters the structure, the trouble starts. Water weakens rafters and beams over time. It soaks through drywall and damages the insulation in your home.
And Roland, don't forget about mold. It grows fast in our humidity and causes all kinds of health problems.
I'd really hate to see you spend thousands on expensive structural or drywall repairs or mold removal projects, especially when we can fix those leaks quickly at Tejas Roofing.
And most of our leak repairs are under $500. This is Deb and Roland Tejada from Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. Call us when you first see that leak, 281-251-0304. See our work online at TejasRoofingandContracting.com. Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
Tune in each Sunday morning at 9 a.m. for On the Money with your host and CEO of Allied Wealth Texas, Ryan Wheelis, who can help you live your richest life possible during your retirement years. That's each Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on AM 700 KSEV.
Hello, friends. Let's be honest. Every business says they're better, but the ones that earn the prestigious BBB seal back it up. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And it instantly identifies reputable businesses you can trust. So look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. It's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org. That's bbb.org.
Jim Clouk, a.k.a. Check-A-Pro Joe here. Houston's best contractors. Houston's smartest homeowners. It all starts with the Check-A-Pro radio show. Now hear my show every Saturday at 7 a.m. right here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
A must-have news feed for conservatives. Keep up to date on the key conservative issues with the KSEV Facebook page. From the news you need to know to the topics that KSEV listeners are talking about to KSEV events, there's a lot to like and a lot to share. Go to facebook.com/KSEV700 or find the link at ksevradio.com. Thanks for listening to KSEV Radio. Now, join the conversation online. Facebook.com/KSEV700.
From the KSEV Weather Center, tonight expect clear skies with high humidity and a low of 79. Tomorrow anticipate partly sunny conditions with isolated thunderstorms possible in the afternoon, reaching a high of 95. Tomorrow night will be mainly clear and humid with a low of 78. Looking ahead to Friday, it will be sunny to partly cloudy with a chance of a thunderstorm in some areas in the afternoon and a high of 94. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
You can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. ChrisXradio.
Uncle Ted. You can't go wrong with Uncle Ted. I don't know. Democrats probably hate him. It's amazing someone hadn't tried to assassinate him. Of course, that would be a big mistake. Uncle Ted is pretty darn good not only with a firearm, with a rifle, but he's unbelievably good with a bow and arrow. I told you I saw the damn Yankees back in the 90s, and at the end, to some point during the concert, a big, I guess, a picture was of Saddam Hussein came up in the background on the back of the stage. And the damn Yankees was Ted Nugent and was it Jack Blades, a guy from Styx, Tommy Shaw, and then some drummer who was ripped, didn't know what he knew. And they jammed and were great. They were actually very entertaining. But at some point during the concert, Ted Nugent ran to the back of the summit. This is back before it was the church. Ran all the way to it was like the lower prom, the very back of the floor area, and had his bow and arrow with him. And fired his bow and arrow completely across the summit and hit Saddam Hussein between the eyes with it. The mural, I guess you will, of Saddam Hussein that came up. And it was, once again, that was in the 90s. And it was just, you realize this dude literally just shot, I don't know how many yards that was, but he shot the bow and arrow, and it was, I think it was compound bow. And that there's you look at that, there's so many liabilities there. But it was up high, so obviously he wasn't shooting low. But, I mean, if something was to happen, but he does not suffer from confidence or lack thereof confidence whatsoever. But that was a great concert. He got great guitar. Basically, Ted Nugent walked around and played solos for about 2 hours, and then shot Saddam Hussein between the eyes with a bow and arrow. That sounds like a typical Saturday night for Ted Nugent. Anyway, welcome back to ChrisXradio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. We got this segment and one more remaining, so if you want to get in, you better do so quickly. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. I hope you enjoyed our little run down the rabbit hole of Galaxy Quest, and then, of course, Tony Shalhoub. Couldn't remember the guy's name. But I once again went down. He was on Wings. Wings was one of those odd shows with the two guys that looked alike and played brothers, but they weren't actually brothers. But they looked very similar. And there's a Houston tie to Wings. Her name was Crystal Bernard. You remember her? She was like the main chick. She was a waitress, I guess, that had went to this place up in New England there. She was from Houston. In fact, I worked with a guy that dated her. Showed me pictures of them. They were regular pictures, family pictures. But he dated her and talked about, and she had another sister that was an actress as well. But he dated Crystal Bernard, from Houston, Texas. I can't remember where she went to high school. But and I was like, what? And this is back, it was the late 90s when I was working at CBS Radio at the time. And I won't say the guy's name, but if he's listening, I remember that story. And he showed us the picture. And I was like, oh, because Crystal Bernard was pretty good looking. She did a few movies and did some series work, and then I don't know what happened, but I think she had a sister that was an actress as well. So, all right, enough of that. All right, let's get to Governor Abbott. Sorry, I could talking about, once again, I am a veritable wealth of useless information. If I could somehow get paid for all the dumb stuff that I know, man, I'd be a rich man. But I know tons of dumb stuff that you don't get paid for. People who get paid are smart people like Ben Strusand. That guy knows how to get paid because he's very smart. And he knows money. He knows how to manage it, apparently. I think if he was a really cool guy, he'd just get a big bunch of money and then manage it for me and then not tell me and then just give it to me because he's just a nice guy like that. I hope he's listening right now. All right, let's get back to it. 281-558-KSEV if you want to join us. So Governor Abbott has ordered the state regulators to audit the pending data center projects before they're connecting to the state's grid. Now, ERCOT says that effectively halts these projects. On Monday, Governor Abbott directed the Public Utility Commission of Texas, PUCT, and ERCOT, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, to review pending data center projects and deny grid connection requests for facilities that fail to meet state requirements. ERCOT told Fox News Digital that the governor's directive effectively pauses all data center projects. ERCOT is reviewing Governor Abbott's letter concerning data centers and will work with the Public Utility Commission of Texas to implement the governor's directive, including postponement of the Batch Zero transmission planning study. The grid operator said in a statement, the move comes as Texas sees a surge of demand of artificial intelligence and cloud computing facilities. That's what all these data centers are. ERCOT told Fox News Digital that about 90% of the 474 gigawatts of projected large load interconnection requests currently under review are from data centers. 474 gigawatts. Is it gigawatts or gigawatts? I think it's gigawatts. More than 5 times the state's peak electricity demand. Okay, that could be a problem. Quote, our top priority is to protect Texans' safety and quality of life, Governor Abbott said in a statement. According to Axios, Texans must come first. As part of the review, Governor Abbott directed regulators to gather additional information from companies seeking grid connections, including whether facilities plan to generate some of their own electricity, as well as their project annual and peak electricity demand, water consumption, and water sources. They use a lot of water, too. The directive follows Abbott's recent push to tighten oversight of this rapidly expanding data center industry. Last week, he said that AI data centers looking to build in Texas should bring their own power. In other words, they have to basically do their own power generation, reuse their own water, and lower electricity costs for residents. I think that is exactly the right approach that Governor Abbott has. Yes, I want to stay on top of this. I want to be the world leader as far as data centers and things like this, but I want them doing their own power so they're not a drain on our grid at all. In fact, I want them to do the power so any excess power goes to our grid so it helps fortify the grid instead of weakening it. I think that would be absolutely a perfect once again, these are multi-billion-dollar places. They spend a whole lot of money. They should be able to generate their own power. May cost a little more, but they're getting incentives and things like that. They can use those incentives to generate their own power and go that route. And like I said, we've been good this year. So far, we're here in August, and we're still it dropped to 98 degrees. It looks like finally cooling down. It's still hot, man. We're in the dog days of August, and these are the early dog days of August. My Lord. So we're just hitting the hundreds, which is what we hit earlier this week. And I don't know if we got over, I think we got over 100 again today, at least on my part of town. But it's very hot, and it's going to stay that way until about September. And then it should cool down a little bit. And then October, it cools down a little bit more, but it's still hot. And then usually about November, we'll get a cold snap. So we'll take it from there. But, man, that's, once again, I love the meme. The sun looking at the earth going, man, Texas sure is pretty this time of year. Let's take a closer look. And it gets hot. And it really does. And we're also talking about things heating up as we gear up for these primaries that are wrapping up in Michigan and some of these other places, these blue areas, and they're starting to elect these crazy radicals, some less radical than others, but there's a whole internal war going on in the Democrat Party between the establishment and these new Abdul El Sayed. Sri Thandar getting dumped by Donovan McKinney, a Democrat socialist. Wesley Ball defeating Cori Bush. These people that have been in power, they're getting smoked. And it's good. I love to see the squad member losing, but is the guy we're getting any better? Well, no, not necessarily. But to see Cori Bush, one of the squad members, get thumped by Wesley Ball, 68.9% of the vote versus 27.2%, that is a thumping. That's not even close. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. You're listening to Chris X Radio. We'll come back, wrap up today's show. We've only got one segment remaining. We'll come back. If you want to join us here for the final segment of Chris X Radio here on our Hump Day edition, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. I'm Chris X. We'll be right back to wrap up the show.
You're listening to Chris X Radio. Chris X Radio, the voice of Texas.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
NPL 38548.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home and in need of the best realtors out there, look no further than the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. They've instilled in each and every member of their team hard work and honest values, and believe me, it's paid off. They truly know the Houston market and what it takes to get a home sold quickly and at top dollar, and how to get the best deal possible for your home purchase. They're employee-owned. They care about their clients, so they always go the extra mile to ensure each sale and purchase is seamless and smooth. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group have been a top-producing real estate team for over 2 decades. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group at 281-440-7900 or see for yourself and go online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com. They sell over 1,000 homes a year, and they know every inch of the buying and selling market in Houston. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. I chose them as my realtor. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, your realtors for life. 281-440-7900 or see for yourself online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com.
That's the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, brokered by EXP.
Hey, y'all, it's Craig Collins. I wanted to let you know that my show airs every afternoon on KSEV from 6 to 7 p.m. I also wanted to encourage you to follow our social media pages. We are now live streaming most of our local content on KSEV Radio's YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter pages, as well as some of our select shows on KSEV Radio's Facebook page. Once again, please follow us at KSEV Radio on YouTube, Rumble, and X. And please follow me at Radio Craig C on X and on Facebook.
Tune in to the Ray Massey Reverse Mortgage Show each Friday at 1 p.m. and Saturdays at 3 p.m. with Treybo Mortgage. Or call Ray directly at 855-266-1600 or online at reversemortgages4texans.com.
Hi, this is Michael Miller. Join me this weekend for the Backyard Bay radio program presented by Miller Pools and Texan Pools, now at our new time every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. And what we do here on the Backyard Bay radio program is talk about your backyard. And this time of year, wow, it's so hard not to just spend all your time out in the Backyard Bay. And I know sometimes you have questions. That's why we do the Backyard Bay radio program, to get you good, solid answers to any kind of questions that you may have concerning your swimming pools, or I'm looking to build a new swimming pool. Join me this weekend for the Backyard Bay radio program, now at our new time, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m., right here on The Voice.
And now, back to Chris X Radio on the voice of Texas.
Well, Trump says we're close to a deal in Iran, so I've heard that one before. By the way, just in here in the last hour, the U.S. Senate has advanced 74 Trump nominees in one fell swoop. 50-44 filed by Majority Leader John Thune. The en-bloc nominations are on track to be fully approved next. That includes 4 U.S. attorneys, 4 U.S. marshals, FEMA, TSA, and more. If the Senate GOP put this kind of energy into the Save America Act, imagine how well we could do in the midterms. Oh, man. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? It sure seems that way. Anyway, welcome back to ChrisXradio. We're wrapping up the program. This is the final segment. If you want to get in, you have to hurry. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. We'll wrap things up here at 6, and we'll be back tomorrow for our Friday show on Thursday. That's where we have a little fun. We bring in Rebecca Black, Leo Moricciolo, do a little Friday for you, because we do our Friday show on Thursday. You ask, what? Chris X, why do you do a Friday show on Thursday? Simple arithmetic, my friend, my Watson. Clearly, my movie and television only goes so far. So clearly arithmetic. As the Amigos take over on Fridays from 4 to 6. They've been on for about 25 years. That would be El Senador Paul Betancourt, along with the judge, and then Strew with a View, Bat, and Cleanup. He brings his big old Lucille with him. Proverbially, figuratively, puts it upside the head of the judge. Tries to knock some sense into him. He's failed miserably for 20 years, so plus. Just, yeah, he makes sense, tries to. The judge, he doesn't budge. Judge is busy worried about his jukebox. I may have stolen that from someone. The judge's jukebox. That's what he should call his segment. Hey, Judge, if you're listening. The judge does not listen. His segment where he plays all the music should be called the Judge's Jukebox. Someone said that. I could give him credit, but I don't think I will, Lucas. I'm not going to give the person who said that, I'm not going to give him credit because it's a good idea. But anyway, so the judge does his music. That's all he cares about, that and chicks. He's been married, 3 times? He's always on the lookout for the next ex-wife. So there you have it. And then, of course, like I said, it's True with you. They take over tomorrow from 4 to 6. I'm sorry, on Fridays from 4 to 6, which means tomorrow we'll do our Friday show on Thursday because 2 objects cannot exist in the same space. Anyone who knows anything about, physics, and I'm clearly a physics master. No, I'm not. Well, we manipulate the time-space continuum, move our Friday to Thursday, so we get a jump start on the weekend 24 hours ahead of everybody else. So we'll be doing that tomorrow from 4 to 6. So make a point to tune in every Thursday for our Friday show, and then every Friday for the Amigos. If you're not confused enough, well, then we'll tell you about Susan Collins, a Republican in Maine, has announced that she's going to vote against President Trump's nomination of Todd Blanche to serve as Attorney General. Now, this leaves very little wiggle room for any additional Republican defections. Collins is the first Senate Republican to publicly oppose Blanche's nomination, said in a statement that while Blanche is a capable lawyer, she believes the Department of Justice under his leadership has become increasingly political. Because it wasn't political at all with the Biden administration, was it, Susan? Remember that Biden administration where they made up Russia collusion? And then you got James Comey, Mr. 8647, who was plotting against the president and lying to the president, and multiple serious actors we have now learned were working, withholding information from the president, all kinds of stuff that were going, but it wasn't, okay. Sorry, I guess she can only think back so far. Now, Blanche can only afford one more Republican no if every Senate Democrat opposes his confirmation. The Hill reported that Senate Majority Leader John Thune currently has what is a 52-seat Republican majority because Senator Mitch McConnell, can we change him to Where's Mitch? What is it, Where's Waldo? Mitch Waldo McConnell remains absent while recovering from a serious health issue, it was a heart issue, and he's still in the hospital, but has anyone heard from him? Really? Anyone at all? Collins said several actions by the Justice Department under Blanche had further eroded the department's independence. Once again, did she pay attention to the previous 4 years? She was there. She was serving in Congress. Well, in Senate. The Hill reported to Collins cited Blanche's approval of shielding President Trump and his sons and the Trump Organization from the IRS audits because the IRS was targeting Trump and his businesses. It's almost as though they had weaponized a department. Oh, wait a minute. The Biden administration weaponized every department, every three-letter agency against Trump and against their political, quote-unquote, enemies. But just like the good Republican that she is, she will once again hold Trump responsible. He's the one doing it. That is the thing that drives these people crazy. They act like we lived in a vacuum and everybody behaved properly before Trump came along, and he's this big orange gorilla that showed up and just started, stomping around on the table and swatting down things, these helicopters, and all. They act as though the Democrats hadn't started weaponizing everything well before Trump came along. And the reason for Trump's vitriol and the hatred he has for certain politicians is because they've all attacked him. And Republicans, straight up. The Republicans who didn't behave in front of the lamestream media, the propaganda apparatus, were destroyed. Once again, she even reported she objected to Blanche's reported pledge to an anti-abortion organization, which she's pro-choice, and pointed to prosecutors' efforts under Blanche to indict Senators Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin over a video encouraging U.S. service members to resist unlawful orders, saying they were ill-advised but constitutionally protected. Okay. Thanks, Susan. Who needs Democrats when you got Republicans like Susan Collins, right? All right, gang, be safe. Have a good